My beloved child, the quiet in your home might fool others, but I know the truth, your thoughts have never been louder. You walk through rooms that barely make a sound. Yet inside you is a constant noise. A rush of memories, worries, unfinished conversations, and questions that never seem to find an answer. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? The more peaceful the house becomes, the more restless the mind turns. The stillness around you does not reflect the storm within you, it magnifies it. You move slowly now, not just from age, but from the weight of thinking too much for too long. You boil water for tea and let it steep. But your thoughts don't. They swirl. You look out the window and see nothing happening. But inside your mind, everything is happening at once. Regrets replay like reruns of old shows. What if questions echo like a ticking clock that never winds down? You sit in a quiet kitchen, but the conversation in your head is loud. Did I do enough? Why didn't they call? What happens to me when I can no longer care for myself? The walls are calm, but your heart is not. And in the absence of voices, your thoughts have become your companions, some kind, some cruel, all of them persistent. But hear me now, I am not absent from this noise. I am not offended by your restless mind. I do not wait for you to be quiet before I draw near. I draw near because you are restless. Even in your racing thoughts, I am there, listening, not judging. I'm not asking you to silence your mind. I'm asking you to invite me into it. You see chaos. I see the doorway. You hear noise. I hear an opening. My child, I have never been afraid of your overthinking, only that you might believe I'm not part of it. What if this noise isn't a flaw, but a signal? What if the loudness inside is not a failure of faith, but a cry for my presence? The storm in your head is not evidence of distance from me, but of your deep longing to be heard. And I hear you, not just your words, but your unspoken thoughts, your mental exhaustion, your private wrestling. What if the thoughts that keep you up at night are not distractions, but invitations? So I ask you, gently, what if you stopped fighting your thoughts, and started walking with me through them? What if you no longer saw your internal world as a problem to fix, but as a sacred space I want to inhabit? What if the real question isn't how do I quiet my mind, but what might happen if I trust God enough to enter it with me today? Don't try to force the silence. Instead, offer me one thought that's been chasing you. Just one. Write it down or say it out loud, not to fix it, but to hand it over. Then breathe. Light a candle. Sit for 3 minutes and whisper, Lord, I give you my mind. Not when it's calm. Now. Just as it is. That is not weakness. That is worship. You are not failing because your thoughts are loud. You are learning to walk with me in the noise. I do not only dwell in cathedrals or quiet gardens. I dwell in racing minds and restless hearts. The house may be still, but I know the truth, your soul is stirring, and I am near. So stay with me. The storm has not disqualified you from peace. It's what makes the peace I give all the more miraculous. And this is only the beginning. Let's walk into that noise, together. My beloved child, It's strange how regret has such a quiet voice, yet somehow it echoes louder than anything else. It doesn't shout. It whispers. But that whisper stays with you. Day after day. Year after year. You walk through the house you built. Pass by the photos you hung. And yet the voice inside you says, you should have done more. You sit at the kitchen table where you once served meals with love. And you replay words you didn't say. Moments you missed. Apologies you never got to offer. The house may be calm. But your memory never sits still. There's a drawer in your bedroom that holds old birthday cards. Receipts from vacations long gone. A locket that hasn't been worn in decades. You open it. Not just to look, but because you're hoping to feel something again. But instead, the thoughts return, why didn't I hug them more? Why was I too busy to listen that day? If I had just called, maybe things would be different. These aren't just thoughts. They are rehearsals, and you've become an expert at replaying what you cannot change. But hear me now, I do not sit with you to remind you of your failures. I sit with you to remind you of my grace. You cannot rewrite the past, but I can redeem it. You cannot go back and fix every missed moment, but I can take your broken pieces and turn them into testimony. You are not the sum of your regrets. You are the child I have loved through it all, even in the moments you wish you could undo. What if I told you that nothing you remember, no mistake, no silence, no delay, is outside my ability to restore? What if the very places where you feel the deepest regret are the places I am preparing to pour the deepest peace? My grace is not only for the things you did right, it covers everything. Even the years you think were wasted. Even the people you think you failed. I don't see your past the way you do. I see a heart that tried, that cared, that loved in imperfect ways, and that still matters to me. So let me ask you something deeper now. Why do you treat regret like a prison sentence, when I've already unlocked the door? Why do you keep returning to the scene of your mistakes, when I've already chosen to remember them no more? When will you believe that my mercy is not just big enough for the world, but personal enough for you, today? I invite you to do something sacred. Take one of those memories, the ones that still haunt you, and speak it aloud in prayer. Say what you wish had been different. Then, in the quiet that follows, imagine me holding it. Not judging. Not scolding. Just holding. Then say this, Lord. I give you this memory. Redeem it in your love. Let that be enough for today. You've carried this for so long, hoping it would fade. But I don't want it to fade. I want it to heal. And healing begins when you stop carrying it alone. So stay close. There is more to say, more to surrender, more to discover. And in the next breath, I'll still be here, still listening, still loving, still turning ashes into beauty. My beloved child, fear has a way of growing louder in the dark, not the darkness of night, but the darkness of uncertainty. In the quiet moments when the world outside slows down, your thoughts race ahead. You fear things you can't name. You imagine scenarios that haven't happened. You hold your breath not because something is wrong, but because something might go wrong. And when no one is around to talk you down, the fear gets louder than your faith. You wake up and your body feels stiff. You notice the pain in your joints and wonder, is this just aging? Or the start of something worse? You forget why you walked into a room. And your mind whispers, what if it's beginning? You scroll the news or hear about a friend who passed suddenly. And it hits you in your chest, what if I'm next? You don't want to be a burden. You don't want to ask for help. But deep down, the question rises, if something happens to me, would anyone even know? But listen to me now, I do not speak to you from a place of fear, I speak from a place of promise. I know your days. I number them not with dread, but with care. I see the thoughts that spiral and the shadows that stretch longer than they used to. And I want you to know, you are not walking toward a cliff. You are walking with me. Your steps are not random. Your decline is not inevitable. Your ending is not a surprise to me, and it is not near. Not until I say so. Fear may shout, but it does not speak truth. I do. And the truth is, I am still sustaining you. The breath you just took, I gave it. The protection over your sleep last night, I kept it. You may feel fragile, but I am not. You may feel alone, but I am near. You may feel vulnerable, but I am your shield. You do not walk through uncertainty unarmed. You walk with the full armor of my presence. So let me ask you now, what if the fear you carry isn't asking you to prepare for the worst, but inviting you to trust me more deeply? What if your imagination wasn't meant to feed your worry, but to stretch your faith? What if the what-ifs that plague your mind were never meant to be answered, only surrendered? Today, take your fear and name it. Say it out loud. Whether it's illness, loneliness, the unknown, or death itself, speak it to me. Then declare this truth. Even if your voice shakes, but God is with me. Even in this. Then sit still. Even for just 1 minute. And let peace come in the form of a single breath. I do not promise you a life without uncertainty. But I do promise you this, you will never walk through a single unknown without me beside you. My presence is not something you have to earn. It's something I freely give. And I give it now, not because you are strong, but because I know how heavy fear can be when carried alone. So let's keep walking. Even slowly. Let's keep breathing. Even when it hurts. There is more to explore. More to trust. And my hand is still open, reaching for yours. My beloved child, you've been carrying too much for too long, but because you've done it so quietly, even you forgot how heavy it's become. Others may look at you and see someone composed, faithful, strong, but I see the undercurrent. I see the late night pacing, the inner conversations you have with yourself just to stay afloat. I see the way you smile so others don't ask questions. I see the fatigue, not the kind sleep can fix, but the kind that comes from being the one who always holds it together. You didn't choose this role. Not really. It just happened. One day, you were needed, by children, by family, by a spouse, by everyone but yourself. So you became what they needed. You gave. You adjusted. You didn't complain. And now, in the quiet, when no one's asking for anything, you don't know what to do with all that's left in your hands, thoughts, responsibilities, emotions you never got to unpack. But hear me now, I never asked you to carry it all alone. I never expected you to be the solution for everyone else's needs. I saw your love. I saw your effort. And now, I want to see you rest. You don't need to prove anything to me. You never did. You were never meant to be everyone's rock, because I am yours. What if your mind isn't broken, it's just weary from holding space for too many others? Too long? What if this season isn't about pushing harder or figuring more out, but finally learning to release? I'm not asking you to abandon what matters. I'm inviting you to come sit beside me and let me carry what's never been yours to hold. So let me ask you this, when was the last time you let yourself just be, not useful, not busy, not fixing, just present? When did you last believe that your worth wasn't in your doing, but in your being mine? That your soul deserved gentleness too? Today, I want you to rest, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually. Find one space in your home, a chair, a window, a corner, and make it sacred. Go there today, even for just 5 minutes. Bring no expectations, no lists, no solving. Just sit. And as you sit, whisper this truth: I'm not here to perform. I'm here to be held. I will meet you in that stillness. I will speak to your soul in the language of peace. And I will begin to untangle every knot you've tried to manage alone. You were never meant to do life for me. You were meant to live life with me. Let's begin there. You, whole and human. Not hustling. Me, present and patient. Not in a rush. Let this be the season where you finally feel what it's like to be carried, not just strong. My beloved child, you've spent so much time trying to quiet your thoughts, but what if stillness isn't something you force? It's something you receive. What if the silence that used to haunt you can become the very place I heal you? You've tried so hard to escape the noise inside your mind, not realizing I never asked you to escape it. I asked you to invite me into it. There's a difference between silence that feels empty and silence that becomes sacred. You've known the first kind, the kind that wraps around you like a cold room, where every echo reminds you that someone's missing, or that you're no longer needed like you once were. But I want to give you something different now, a stillness that breathes peace. A quiet that doesn't accuse you, but holds you. I want you to remember this: I do some of my most powerful work in quiet places. A stable in Bethlehem. A tomb before the stone rolled away. A whisper to Elijah in the cave. And now, the room you're in, the one you thought was empty, can become holy ground. You don't need to make noise to be heard. You don't need to fix your thoughts to be found. You only need to be still enough to notice that I'm already here. So let me ask you this: what if you stopped treating silence like a punishment, and started seeing it as an invitation? What if your quiet mornings weren't something to rush through, but moments I've set aside for you and me? No distractions. No audience. No expectations? What if the quiet isn't the problem, but the path today? Take one intentional step. Find a simple way to mark your stillness with me. Maybe you light a candle before you sit down. Maybe you open the Bible to one verse, not to study, but to listen. Maybe you play a single worship song and let it sit with you like a friend. This doesn't need to be long. It just needs to be real. No pressure. No perfection. Just presence. Just you and me. Speak to me without planning. Or don't speak at all. Let your breathing be your prayer. Let your stillness be your faith. Let the simple act of sitting with me become your sanctuary, because I'm already in that chair next to you. I've always been there, waiting for your permission to sit closer. I don't need performance. I want proximity. Not more noise, more nearness. Let's turn this quiet house into a holy place. Let's make space not to do, but to be together. And when you're ready, we'll take the next step, one breath, one moment, one still heart at a time. My beloved child, I know how strange it still feels to be surrounded by quiet, yet no longer afraid of it. The thoughts still come, yes, but now they no longer rule over you. They no longer roar. They knock gently now. And you've learned how to invite me to answer the door. You've stopped trying to silence your thoughts and started to recognize them as prayers. Not the kind you say out loud, but the kind that rise from within, questions, memories, sighs too deep for words. You've discovered something holy, that even your mental chaos is not too messy for me. Even your distracted mind is sacred ground if you offer it. And you have. You used to think your quiet house meant your purpose had faded. But I've shown you that I speak most clearly in these quiet places. You thought your mind was a battlefield I would avoid, but I've walked with you through every corner of it. Not once have I left. Not once have I stopped listening. So now, let me ask you one final thing. What if your loudest thoughts were never something to be ashamed of, but part of the way I made you to feel, to care, to reflect? What if I placed that depth in you so that you could hear not just the world, but me more clearly when the noise settles? What if your overthinking heart was never broken, just incredibly sensitive to the things that matter most? You don't have to run anymore. You don't have to hide from your own mind. You are not your anxiety. You are not your regrets. You are not your unanswered questions. You are my beloved. And I am forming in you a peace that doesn't erase the noise. It rests within it. So today, as you sit in your quiet room, I want you to say this with me. My thoughts may wander, but God never does. My house may be still, but I am never alone. Let that truth wrap around you like a blanket. Let it become your rhythm, your prayer, your anchor. And when the thoughts come again, as they will, you'll know what to do. Not push them away, but pause, breathe, and say, Lord, be with me in this thought too. That's all. That's enough. That's holy. You're not just surviving your thoughts now. You're walking with me through them. You're not waiting for the noise to stop. You've learned to worship right in the middle of it. So here we are, at the end of this story, and yet, it's also the beginning of a new one. A life where your thoughts aren't the enemy, but the place where I meet you. A life where silence is no longer empty, because you know who fills it. And tomorrow, when you open your eyes, and the house is still quiet, you'll smile, because you've learned you are not alone in that silence. You are not lost in those thoughts. You are held, always.